All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Trading Bitcoin with your host, Vays, coming to you live from Turkey. I am in between flights. I had to go from Malta east to Turkey, only to go west to America. Sounds crazy, but that's what the world of travel looks like these days. And let's look at the charts. A little early for those in the United States, 7:30 in the morning in the US. We're going straight to the charts. Let's see how the live chat's doing. I finally have a desk. I'm finally doing this at a desk. I'm in the lounge. And of course, we're doing our little regulatory arbitrage, this time with wine, not water. I can use it after all the travel. Jeez. Yeah, I got like an 11-hour flight coming up. Like, look, normally, under normal conditions, I would have came here to Turkey, have like a 5 or a 6 hour connector. I had the option to do like a 20-hour connector through the night. And normally that's exactly what I would do. I would land at like 1 in the afternoon, and I would fly out the following morning on a connector, spending the night in Turkey, meeting some people, meeting some fans if I still have any. I know there's a lot of people in Turkey that watch me, but unfortunately, because of COVID, I can no longer do that. I have to go through a bunch of extra protocols. I got to take more PCR tests. So I can no longer stop at a country for a night or two and move on, because it has become such a hassle that, you know, no more random layovers, meeting people in countries. And it has nothing to do with the virus. It just has to do with politics. Yeah, I'm in Istanbul, but I'm not leaving the airport. Like I just explained, I would have loved to leave the airport. I could have easily made the connector last 10 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. And I would have left the airport and I would have like just tweeted out where I'm getting dinner. But try to change the laws in your country to allow me to leave the airport for 24 hours without, you know, a probe up my nose. All right, we are on the charts. So I wanted to sneak a peek at the monthly chart because the month is more than halfway over. And as you can see, the monthly chart is actually looks nice. It looks really nice. It looks bullish. The monthly chart actually has plenty of room all the way down to 50,000 and still remain very bullish for a massive breakout. The weekly chart looks better, but still a bearish candle. So it's going to be very challenging to flip the MRI back to a positive number, a green number. So it looks like the MRI is going to flip. But if we rally a little bit more, we can get above the short-term moving average. If we can get above 60,000, we got to get above 60,500. That's going to be tricky. By end of day today, it can happen. But so far, this candle is a cautionary candle, and it is telling us to try to stay in cash until the market proves itself to be more bullish. I gotta ban someone from the live chat. There you go. Everyone's happier now. Wait, I thought I just banned him. Yeah, there he is. Okay, he's gone. Good. Haven't done any news shows in a while. That's unfortunate. Once I get back to the States, I'll reach out to Jimmy and Mechanic, and maybe we'll bring you guys a show next week. Yeah, back in the day when Leah was the producer and the anchor of the news show, happened a lot more often. Okay, this is a very interesting chart. This is our Consensio chart. This should not be this green. It should be less green because we're only at 75% bullish allocation. Now, the reason the allocation into Bitcoin was lowered was because it is now below two moving averages, and both of those moving averages are declining. We've also had a moving average crossover. The last time we had one of these situations was back here. Now, you can also see back here, we took a lot more off the table than I did now. I am holding on to my 75% bullish allocation, but if the next candle closes below this red line, I'm actually going to lower that allocation to approximately 60%. Now, the reason why the allocation was lower back here to 50, 60 is because the long-term moving average had not yet started to rise. It was just flattening out. So the long-term moving average being bearish was the main driver in making this allocation lower than it is today. Today, the long-term moving average is strong and rising, which is what's keeping this allocation larger than back here. Remember, there's a lot of moving parts in Consensio. We have three moving averages. They could all be rising or falling, or some of them could be rising, some of them falling. They could also be in different sequences above each other. And then you have the price is above some of them and below others. So all of that factors into rules. There is some discretion here that I use where there's some discretion that I use as to the allocation, but at the end of the day, I cannot be 100% invested in Bitcoin right now based on Consensio. It has to be smaller than that, okay? Now, this run-up yesterday seems very promising, but today's candle, or the current candle, is weak. And by weak, I mean this candle needs to get above the prior candle. Let's go and take a look at the daily chart. Now, the daily chart, the candle did get above the prior day's candle. However, we are being rejected by the 50-period moving average. We have now had two candles where every part of the candle was below a moving average. That is a bearish sign. We need to get back above the 50-period moving average, and we need to do it very soon, because if we get rejected and this arrow is no longer needed, so I'm just going to go ahead and move it. At the moment, all signs point to a rejection. Now, I did name the this podcast. The low is probably in, but I'm looking at the charts, and I cannot say with any kind of definity that the low is in. Now, if we go above this 50-period moving average, I will then have way more confidence that the low is actually in. Who else should we ban? Oh, I like this question, Giannis. Are we supposed to pressure our government to change policy so you can leave the airport for a few hours and get and that seems like an unreasonable request. Why don't you just go get a vaccine and be done with it? So yes, actually, you want to change that policy, and I'll tell you why. Because you clearly don't give a shit about the economics of your country. By me being able to leave the airport for 24 hours, I am spending money supporting businesses in your country. So maybe you don't give a shit about your uncle's restaurant business, but I actually do, okay? So that is why you should try to change that law, because anyone who doesn't want tourists leaving the airport for 24 hours for the purposes of spending money and supporting local businesses, then you don't care about capitalism and you don't care about people in your country, okay? How's that for a reason to let me leave the airport for 24 hours? And it has nothing to do whether I have a vaccine or not. The same policy applies to me not being able to leave the airport, whether I am vaccinated or not. It's completely irrelevant, because everyone that's vaccinated still catches COVID, still spreads COVID. And now if you look at the articles, it's symptomless COVID, okay? So it has nothing to do with vaccination status. Okay, rant over. So at the moment, as a technical analyst, and look, every technical analyst is different, but this technical analyst respects critical moving averages, and the 50-period moving average is always critical. And I will always assume a rejection of the moving average versus a break of the moving average, just like I would assume support of the moving average versus a break of the moving average until proven otherwise. Now, because this moving average is rising, it's actually easier to break back above it. But had this moving average turned to the downside, it becomes a very likely rejection. Okay, short-term charts. Hey, that's a good question, Ice-T. Do you think countries in Europe could split like the USA will do in the future? So in my presentations going as far back as 2015, I always talked about the split of the European Union as the biggest catalyst for Bitcoin adoption and Bitcoin's rise in price. At the moment, it looks like the European countries are actually rallying together instead of breaking apart. And the reason why the European countries are rallying together is because it feels like almost every single leader of a European country, other than maybe Poland and Hungary, are, praising Hitler and want to be tyrannical. So they are looking to unite Europe to pretty much enslave their people. So I no longer see a breakup of the European Union because most of the leaders are on the tyrannical bandwagon, working together to kind of have this one 1984 world. But I do see a breakup of the United States. So I have completely flipped my view on which region is more likely to break up. Prior to the 2020 election, I was still dumbfounded why Europe has not broken up into its individual countries. I no longer see Europe breaking up. I see Europe completely combining because their leaders really want it, and their leaders don't really care that there is a billion people out in the streets. So, and those people don't seem to be really making any kind of a meaningful change. So I do not see a breakup of Europe anymore. I see Europe as a complete and utter disaster. But I do see a breakup of the United States because the divide between the Democrats and Republicans has exploded to the lights of which I have never witnessed, not since like the Yugoslavia breakup or the Czechoslovakia breakup. Hopefully the breakup of the United States will be similar to Czechoslovakia, which was very peaceful, and not Yugoslavia, which was very, very bloody. All right, short-term chart. One more person just got banned. Beautiful. Please say other stupid things, guys. We want to ban you so that you're not bothering us anymore. Okay, so short-term chart is not that interesting. The 1 hour is not interesting. And the 4 hour is pretty bullish here. I like it, but there's not really that much to say. You see, the Europe thing is very interesting, right? So between 2015 and 2020, I have always talked about the breakup of Europe because for economic reasons. It was mostly going to be due to economics. It was going to break up. But in 2020 and with COVID policies, I mean, the countries basically decided that economics don't matter. And they don't need tourists in their country. They don't need private businesses in their country. And all they need is a tyrannical regime to control people, like in the book 1984. And because almost every single European leader is on board with this agenda, they no longer care about, you know, the better economics in their country, which would have caused the split. They now care more about who can lock their people down more. And it makes sense that a unified Europe can lock down the people better than independent countries can lock. It's a weird concept. Sometimes it's really hard for me to explain my views on it, but that's basically it. As a small independent country, let's take a small country like the Netherlands, for example. It's not that small, but let's use the Netherlands as an example. So the Netherlands, for example, has different views on economics than other countries, even in Europe, especially when it comes to, you know, like substances, and a lot of drugs are legal there. I know they're legal in Portugal as well. But Amsterdam has their own economics. And if Amsterdam wants to be like, you know, a country giving their people freedom, that the giving of freedom to their people to benefit the economics of the Netherlands would potentially cause tension with the other European nations, and the Netherlands would want to be its own nation. This is even more true for countries like Greece and Italy. But as you see, the Netherlands just started shooting its people for protesting against vaccine mandates. So because the Netherlands is now shooting its citizens because they don't care about their citizens and what the citizens actually want, which is freedom, because they don't care about their citizens, it is better and easier for the leaders of the Netherlands to enforce tyrannical lockdown policies as a united Europe, you know, where Austria is and Germany are, you know, marching, saying the orders that the Netherlands would follow. So this is why I no longer see a breakup of Europe, and I now see, you know, Europe becoming this one country where you have to get a permission slip to walk out your house and breathe air, and all the leaders of Europe seem to be on board, except maybe not Croatia, maybe Poland isn't happy. I think a few others aren't happy, but those countries are, you know, the Eastern Bloc, you know, the Eastern Bloc, the bloc that actually remembers communism, that's the bloc that's unhappy. And because the bloc that wants communism just doesn't care about what the former Soviet republics actually remember. So it's irrelevant. Man, you guys got me all riled up against. No conspiracy theories here, right? Again, this is just my view of the world economically, and the U.S. is gonna break up. I am very certain of that, and I think it'll happen by 2030. And if Trump is the next president, he'll probably be the one blamed for it. Not the 2020 election, it'll be Trump, which is why I don't actually want Trump to be president in 2024. And it's not because I think he's a bad president. It's just that I think if Trump is president in 2024, the country is more likely to break up faster, and Trump would be blamed. And I don't want that. I don't want Trump to go down in history as the president that split the nation. Even though it wasn't Trump that did it, it was the corrupt media mostly. Guys, the divide between the Democrats and the Republicans is too big. The divide is too big. It's not gonna get any better. Just look up the Czechoslovakia breakup and look up the Yugoslavia breakup. One was peaceful, one was bloody. You want the peaceful version. But just in case it's a bloody version, you guys know which side I'll be fighting for. All right, GBTC, look at that premium. Look at that. Today's Sunday, though. The premium's getting closer. It's not great, but it's definitely on a trajectory up. Let's see what happens when it gets close to zero. Oh yeah, I did this last time. Nothing's changed. Today's Sunday. Today's Sunday. We can do a little bit of Q&A, right? So it's Sunday. I'm stuck at the airport like 3 more hours. How's our buddy Doge doing? Oh boy, that looks bad. Come on, Elon, tweet something stupid. Risk of dying from COVID is 0.24%. No, it is a lot less than that if you are young and healthy. You see, the thing is, the COVID statistics are so bad. Like, it's your chances of dying from COVID is a lot higher than 0.24 if you're old and sick. But if you're young and healthy, your chances of dying from COVID is a lot less than 0.24%. So you can't like quote the statistic. The statistic has like an exponential growth curve of how dangerous COVID is, the sicker you are and the older you are. All right, guys, any cool comments? Well, yeah, see, this has been the problem, like this whole pandemic stuff from the beginning, right? So the risk of dying from COVID for a healthy person is very, very small. And it was like demonized that you're a bad person if you don't get the vaccine. Meanwhile, for the same healthy person, there is a risk to taking the vaccine. And you're just looked at as a, I don't want to say the P word, but you're just looked at as a wimp and a weakling. Oh, you're so scared of a 0.1% chance of, you know, dying or being permanently damaged by the vaccine. What a loser you are. Meanwhile, the percentage of a young healthy person being damaged by COVID is probably smaller, and yet you're like, and yet that part is demonized. So it's just a complete reverse, right? And then people that do get damaged by the vaccine, they're canceled. They're not allowed to say their story, or they're being like, well, that's a good thing, you know, you destroyed your life, but you benefited society. Like, you know, all the information that tried to explain how to cure COVID and how not lethal COVID is for healthy people was censored. And now the opposite is happening. You know, the information on the vaccine and that they're more dangerous than they say they are gets censored. All the doctors get censored. It's really bad. It's really bad. So I had COVID twice. I have a recovery letter. The last time I had COVID was actually a few months ago. There was no reason to talk about it. I felt fine, but I had COVID. Am I ever going to go to Denmark or Scandinavia? Well, it just became harder, right? I mean, Scandinavia just put in a vaccine mandate, a vaccine passport. It gets harder and harder, right? I don't want to support countries with a vaccine mandate, and if those countries allow you to enter with proof of recovery, it's easier for you to enter, of course. Someone is saying Tone just admitted he doesn't care about others and vulnerable dying. Well, you don't seem to care about young teenagers dying, right? I mean, I'm sorry, but I will always promote healthy living for young people than old people, okay? That's kind of how life works. Extending an 85-year-old's life by an extra year is not worth destroying the life of a 15-year-old. Maybe in your world it is, not in my world. How can crypto thrive with all the corruption in this country? Well, crypto has a lot of corruption itself. Bitcoin doesn't have corruption. Bitcoin is just Bitcoin. So as Bitcoin destroys the traditional money system, these corrupt people will have less money to implement their tyrannical policies. I mean, I don't know what more I can say about the TA part, right? I already said it all in the beginning of the show. Yeah, remember, all the freedoms you're giving up right now temporarily, your kids will never have those. Your grandkids will never have those freedoms. The freedom to simply walk out of an airport and visit a new country for even 8 hours is gone. Gone. I don't know where I will go. Right now, I'm looking at Dubai as a potential future home. And Dubai is great, a little hot, a little expensive, but it's good. And I'm also looking at Mexico. I'm really liking Mexico. One of the few countries left standing that doesn't require vaccines or PCRs. You know, I really wanted to go to El Salvador this week. All my friends were there, but I had some business to take care of here in Europe, of all places. Why not Florida? Because Florida is still under federal law. Trust me, Florida and Texas will be my #1 destinations after the secession. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. After the secessions, and you kick out all the Californians. El Salvador has other issues. El Salvador needs to fix a couple of things too, but I haven't been there, so I shouldn't talk too much. Colombia, yep, I'll probably go down to Colombia this winter. Colombia and Mexico, I want to support those countries. Those countries have no vaccine mandates. Those countries have no PCR requirements. They're the only two countries left standing. I was going to spend my entire year in Tanzania, but then the president got and it was over. Yeah, Mexico has become land of the free. I agree. It's definitely not USA. Do you know about Nomad Capitalist? Yes, I do. I do know about Nomad Capitalist. He had a conference going on in Mexico back in May. I tried getting involved in that and help, but here's the problem with Nomad Capitalist. The problem with Nomad Capitalist is that he is besties with Roger Ver. So Nomad Capitalist doesn't understand sound money. He doesn't understand Bitcoin. And his relationship with Roger Ver is gonna, damage a lot of people's finances. So I wanted to come and be a speaker at his event, but I kind of got rejected, and probably because it doesn't align with his views on Bitcoin, because he believes in fake Bitcoin. So if someone can explain to Nomad Capitalist and their crew that they are supporting a fake Bitcoin and are promoting a fake Bitcoin, people will, get financially hurt. I like what he does. I really like it. Well, I like, but that relationship with Roger Ver is unfortunate, to say the least. Maybe if I ever get there, if I get to speak to him in person, maybe I get to speak at his conference, maybe I can, change his mind to real digital money. But until then, really, Colombia just added a vaccine mandate for visiting restaurants. Oh, there goes Colombia. There go my plans for Colombia. I guess it's only Mexico left. Dominican Republic just did that as well. But in Dominican Republic, they're all, all-inclusive resorts, so you don't really need to go to the restaurants. But in Colombia, you do. Right. Well, Nomad Capitalist might not be promoting Bcash directly, but by promoting Roger, you're promoting Bcash. I mean, it's by association. It's like promoting, Craig Wright. If you're supporting Craig Wright, you're de facto promoting BSV. But Nomad Capitalist podcast is great. I love it. Like I said, I would love to speak at one of his conferences in the future. But Roger speaks at his conferences. He has Roger has the lock on it, Oh, I'm never going back to Vancouver. I went to Vancouver one time It was like 4 years ago. I got detained at the airport for no reason whatsoever. And I have a really bad experience flying into Vancouver. I flew into Vancouver from the US, and they had a serious problem with me staying in Vancouver for 2 days without an actual plan. So they detained me at the airport trying to find out what I'm doing in Vancouver for 2 days without a plan. So, yeah. Because they can't, the Vancouver, because like the airport people, they're like asking, well, what are you going to do here? And I said, well, I work on the internet. I'm a podcaster. I just wanted to visit. I like visiting new cities and countries, and I have to be on the West Coast of America. I have to go down to San Francisco. And the guy is like, I don't give a shit where you have to go next. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, the whole reason why I'm in your damn country in Vancouver is because I had to go to San Francisco and I had a free weekend. So I literally said this to the guy, right? So I'm like, well, you may not care where I have to go next, but I decided to come to Vancouver because I have to be in San Francisco. And now I'm starting to regret that decision. So I'm never coming back to your shitty city again. You know, Portugal is one of the few European cities I haven't been to yet. It was on my visiting plan list in 2020, but then the pandemic hit. Yeah, it's a Canadian thing, right? Like no one really cares about their country that much, and yet they detain people at the airport just for wanting to visit their country. So fine, I'll stop. Like, it's okay. If you don't want my money to be spent at your businesses, fine, I won't go. All right, guys, any other comments? Still got like 2 hours to kill, but I might try to get some work done. I should probably go talk to the ticketing desk. Maybe I can weasel my way into business class. That's what I saw, and that's what I heard on the videos. The police actually fired on protesters in the Netherlands, in I think it was Rotterdam. Can you talk about your opinion if Bitcoin cycle could lengthen into February? Well, I think lengthening into February is easy. Let's see how the year ends. Let's see where we end up at the end of the year. I'm still waiting for a big run up in price in the next 6 weeks. I don't have any thoughts on the Bitcoin city in El Salvador because I don't really know anything about it. All right, I'm gonna turn the chart off. Again, guys, I'm here in Istanbul for like a 5-hour connector. Looking at your live chat. Yeah, it's becoming very hard to fly. No, travel has become a nightmare. We'll see what happens in the future, but like conferences are asking me to like travel to them and speak there. I'm about to put in like a $5,000 or a $10,000 speaking fee, not because I want the fee, but because like I don't want to like travel. Like it's a nightmare. Like I now want to be compensated for the hassle I got to go through to get to a place. I mean, it's hard for me to answer whether it's a good idea to take on a Bitcoin loan and lock up your Bitcoin. You have to know exactly who you're locking it up with because you're putting your Bitcoin at risk if you don't do it properly. It's up to you whether you need the money or not. I'm not taking on any Bitcoin loans. You know, there's nothing really that I need to buy other than sanity in this world. Tarek, but here's the thing, right? Germany and Austria are not destroying Europe. Germany and Austria are leading Europe into a unified 1984 tyrannical dictatorship. And most countries seem to be on board. And they're happy about this. They're happy to destroy their citizens' lives. So get the hell out of Europe. Go down to Mexico. Go down to El Salvador. Go somewhere. I mean, 89,000 for end of November is still possible, but obviously unlikely. Tone is advocating for Turkish Airlines. I mean, it's the one airline that's actually flying around the world, and it's cheap. I used to, someone asked me about music. I don't really listen to music anymore since I became a Bitcoiner. I used to DJ hip hop, R&B, reggae, reggaeton. I don't have a favorite song of all time. I'm at the airport in Istanbul, guys. Well, I have a cabin in the middle of nowhere. It's in Pennsylvania, but it's too cold, so I'm probably not going to be there this winter. New Zealand is one of those countries I'll never visit the rest of my life, along with Australia and recently Austria and Israel and Canada. The list keeps growing. The list keeps growing. Yeah, like I said, I would have loved to spend a few nights in Turkey and visit some friends here, but can't leave the airport. COVID restrictions, too many. All right, guys, been a long podcast. Time to call it a day. Thank you all for watching, and see you all on the next one. Yeah, notice how my shirt's inside out? But you can still see what it says on the inside of that shirt, only because I want last questions as I go through airport security. Bye, guys.